Hey everybody, this is question number 8 from the individual assignment for chapter 19. This one uses the direct method to allocate support department costs. So let's just jump into it. I'm actually going to minimize that to get it out of the way. And we'll say Christmas Timber Inc. produces Christmas trees. The trees are produced through a cutting and pruning process. Machine maintenance and janitorial labor labors are performed throughout the production process by non-production employees. Maintenance and janitorial costs are allocated based on machine hours used and the number of trees in each department respectively. The company estimates that the cutting and pruning areas typically have about 21 and 49 trees respectively in them at one time. And the company also estimates the cutting process requires about 9 times as many machine hours as the pruning process. So, all right, and it wants the total cost of each department, or it gives the total cost of each department, and then it wants us to use the direct method of support department cost allocation to determine the total cost of each production department after allocating all support costs to the production departments. Okay, so what we're going to do is the first thing to do is we're going to figure out our allocation rates. And so we know that maintenance is allocated based on machine hours. So I'm going to say for maintenance, we're going to allocate on the basis of machine hours. And we know that the cutting department, can't type, and the pruning department both use maintenance. And so cutting, it says, cutting process requires about 9 times as many machine hours as the pruning process. So we're going to say for every 9 hours of cutting, there's 1 hour of pruning. Our total is just those two added up. And then our allocation rates are just going to be the number of hours of cutting, or the number of machine hours of cutting divided by the total number of machine hours. And the same for pruning, the number of hours pruning divided by the total. So really what we're saying is 90% of our maintenance costs will be allocated to the cutting department, and 10% of the pruning costs will be allocated, or so 10% of the maintenance costs. So sorry about that. So 90% of the maintenance costs will be allocated to the cutting department, and 10% of the maintenance costs will be allocated to pruning. Since we know how much the maintenance costs were, $9,000, then we can just figure out the amounts that will be allocated. So we'll say the $9,000 in maintenance costs times the 90% allocation rate means we're going to allocate $8,100 of maintenance costs to the cutting department, and we're going to allocate $900 of pruning costs to, of maintenance costs to the pruning department. Okay, now we'll do the same thing to get our allocation rates for the janitorial department. We know janitorial's total cost, it tells us, is $3,000. Cutting and pruning. So the cutting department has about 21 trees at any given time. And the pruning department has 49 trees at any given time. So the number of trees we're working on at any given time should be 70. So we'll allocate our janitorial costs on this basis. So to find our rate, we'll just take the number of trees being worked on in cutting divided by the total number of trees. And the same thing for pruning, the number of trees being worked on there divided by the total number. we can express them as percentages. And then to find the amount of the allocation, we'll just say cutting is 30% of the janitorial costs, and pruning is 70% of the janitorial costs. All right, so once we know that, it's pretty easy because it gives us our department costs. So for maintenance, we have our department costs, we have our maintenance costs, and our janitorial costs. Our department costs are given to us right here, $57,000 for the cutting department. Maintenance, we figured out that cutting department will be responsible for $8,100 of those maintenance costs. And janitorial will be responsible for, and maintenance will be responsible for 900 of those janitorial costs. So our total cost for the maintenance department, $66,000. We'll do the same thing. Oh, you know what? That was confusing. This should be the cutting department. So cutting department will have 57,000 in department costs, 8,100 in maintenance costs, and 900 in janitorial costs. And then the pruning department will have department costs of 8,000, maintenance costs of 900, and janitorial costs of 2,100. That should be it. So our production department's total cost, the cutting department will be 66,000. And the pruning department will be 11,000. Double check. Looks like we're good. And hopefully that helps.